Our next inductee has touched many hearts throughout the world with her award-winning art. Veryl Goodnight's interpretation of the American West is breathtaking and it is inspiring. This is her story.
2016 Cowgirl Hall of Fame honoree, Veryl Goodnight. Every painting and sculpture by Veryl Goodnight captures the dignity and strength of the animals, women, and men who made the American West their home. A direct result of her full immersion into her subject matter, Goodnight's true-to-life depictions raise awareness of Western culture worldwide. Growing up in Colorado, Veryl's love of horses and Western wildlife influenced her art from the very beginning. She was not interested in the abstract methods popular in art schools at the time, so she began studying under like-minded representational painters and sculptors. By the 1970s, Goodnight's artistic style emerged as a wildlife painter. Working as a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, she utilized the opportunity to work from live subjects for greater accuracy. She started sculpting in order to broaden her knowledge about anatomy, finding the horse to be her greatest teacher. Her career soared at a time when there were very few female Western artists. Distantly related to the famous cattle couple Charles and Marianne Goodnight, Veryl developed a lifelong interest in Western history early on. Her first monument commission in 1982 was for Old Maud, Charles Goodnight's favorite longhorn cow. Veryl's respect for the stories of how the West was settled is embodied in her work. She depicts the strong, enterprising women that were an important part of that history, and some of her most moving pieces show them close to nature, both protecting and depending upon the animals. In 1998, her horses became an international symbol of freedom. So moved by the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, Goodnight created a 7-ton commemorative monument called The Day the Wall Came Down. Gifted to the people of Germany, the tribute was flown overseas by the United States Air Force. It sits in front of the Allied Museum in Berlin with a matching casting at the George Bush Presidential Library and Museum in College Station, Texas.
This sculpture is one of two in existence, the other one being in our library, and we're proud to have it there because it offers passers-by at that museum of mine a daily reminder of the sacrifice endured by the people of Berlin and the countless others who suffered under totalitarianism. Even more, it is a celebration of freedom.
Over her career, Goodnight has crafted more than 200 sculptures and 20 life-size or larger monuments that reside in public and private collections around the world. Her work has been displayed in numerous museum exhibits, including at the Gilcrease Museum, the Autry Museum of the American West, the Isle Museum of American Indians and Western Art, and the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame. She has won multiple awards, including a Central Intelligence Agency SEAL Medallion for The Day the Wall Came Down. Her work has been featured in every major Western art publication and in many books, including her own. Goodnight attributes much of her success to teamwork. She met Roger Brooks while horseback riding in 1986, and they married in 1990. He fully embraced the art world, managing the business side of Veryl's profession. Her partnership with galleries, her models, and her bronze finisher have resulted in sculptures that beautifully capture the spirit of the West. Like many of the pioneering subjects of her work, Goodnight has forged a successful career with grace and skill. She continues to look for the next story, the next adventure, and the next frontier to interpret through art. For her artistic vision of Western culture, the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame is privileged to induct Veryl Goodnight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the trailblazer, the artist, and now the 2016 inductee into the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame, Veryl Goodnight.
I do normally make it a rule to not stand between two beautiful, young, thin women. how there aren't words to explain the feeling of this honor. We have all received a telephone call or an email or a letter that's changed your life. And for me, the call came from Diana Villa and the Cowgirl Hall of Fame, letting me know that I had been nominated to be an inductee this year. The call meant so much to me. My feet didn't hit the ground for quite a few days. I'm not sure they're there yet. But it did remind me of going back to the beginning. It reminded me of a call I got in 1981 from the man who was putting together the Cheyenne Frontier Days Governor's Invitational Art Show. And they had just opened the show the following year, or the previous year, and he had gotten into a lot of trouble for not having any women in the art show. And the call wasn't, gee, Veryl, your work's great, we want you in the show. It was, Veryl, would you do me a favor and get me out of trouble next year and be in that show? I was in that show for 32 years. And I retired from it in 2014, and when I did, fully 1/3 of the women, the participating artists were women. This is a trend, I agree. This is a trend, I've been on the art scene for 4.5 decades, almost a half a century. And this is a trend that I have seen steadily in the whole Western art genre, including in some of the most major shows, such as the Masters at the Autry Museum and the Idol George in Indianapolis, Indiana. Women can create art, and there are quite a few predecessors in this room, artists who I admire tremendously, and I'm really thrilled to be joining with you as part of this wonderful organization. Now, it was the love of the animals that actually inspired me to be an artist. And I've now spent thousands and thousands of hours standing in corrals or alongside of animal pens, observing and studying animals closely. It's given me a lot of time to ponder life while I'm turning a sculpture stand round and round, so the sculpture is mirroring the image, the position the animal's in front of me, adding clay, subtracting clay, until I have as close to what God made in the first place as I can get. At first, when I began sculpting, I saw only the surface of the animals. Then I figured out that I really had to understand anatomy, the muscles and the bones, in order to do them justice. But then it just kept going further. Slowly but surely, after hours and hours with these animals, they begin to reveal their individuality. They begin to reveal their souls. Now, I'm going even further now in my research because I'm exploring the very origins of the relationships between man and animals, because I want to continue to bring dignity and recognition to the animals that have been our partners for the beginning of mankind. Now, I've also sought to capture the softer side of the American West. I've chosen women that are feminine, and yet they are very resilient and they are fiercely capable. I had a great example of this working with the staff of the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. You girls are amazing. Now, we're here to celebrate the accomplishments of women, but I am reminded of a bit of Native American wisdom, and that is that an eagle needs 2 wings to fly, and humanity needs both men and women to create harmony. And I was first blessed with very supportive parents, both a mother and a father, which many don't have. And for the past 3 decades, I've had not one, but 2 men who have been the wind beneath my wings, who've always been there. Now, my feisty girlfriends thought I should stop here and sit down. But something about it would make my biography more interesting. But I would like to mention only 2 people in this room. One is Dimitri Spiridon. Dimitri has completed every one of my bronzes for over 30 years. The entire show that you see at over at the Cowgirl Hall of Fame, he has done the finish work on every one of those sculptures. By that I mean the metal work, the chasing, the patinas, the basing. He has not let me down once, not once in 30 years have I missed a deadline because of a foundry problem. And I know that other sculptors in here are probably groaning with jealousy. Roger Brooks is my husband and my partner for 29 years. Roger's my rock. He's steady, he's wise. He was a former airline pilot, and he is the one you want in the cockpit of the plane when the plane's in trouble. There's many others in this very room that have helped me get to this podium in many ways, and each of you are loved and appreciated. And I thank you so much for the contributions you've made to my career. The honorees that have preceded me, both the deceased honorees and the honorees that are still living, you have provided me with inspiration for years. Each of you has broken barriers. Each of you has made my own trail easier. And I vow to do all I can to continue to follow in your footsteps in making the trail for other young artists easier and easier, other young women artists, easier and easier. To be invited to be one of you is the greatest honor of my career. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a work of art herself, 2016 inductee, Veryl Goodnight, wearing her brand new Cowgirl boots.